Hey everyone, Andrew here, and I just got done watching Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, the official last film of the DCEU. And I figured, well, let's go ahead and rank that, because, it's the DCEU, it's been a part of our lives for the last 10 years almost, like, jeez. And it's had some ups, and it's had a lot of downs, and I'm sad to see it go. To an extent. Honestly, I'm sad to see the actors in these roles go, but a lot of them didn't ever get used as they really should have. So, with the DCEU, there are 16 films that I am counting as part of the DCEU. I am not counting Joker or The Batman, because those both clearly take place in their own separate universe. I am including Blue Beetle, despite the fact that he may or may not stay as a part of the DCEU. But his original intent was to be part of the DCEU, so I'm keeping him as part of this, especially since I have a hard time believing we're going to get this actor back as this character. So the DCEU, as we all know, started out with Man of Steel. It was this darker, grittier version of the DC comic books universe, and it was supposed to bring all these heroes together and have them fight together. And unfortunately, it just all fell apart almost from the jump. Like, from the second film on, it was just a chaotic mess that never really got its footing, except for maybe one or two occasions. And it's interesting because it's the last version of the DCU. It's the same year we got the last of the Arrowverse, and I'm way more sad about losing the Arrowverse than I am about losing the DCEU. But there's definitely some of these actors and some of these roles that I wish we could see them come back to. They always had a good cast and some great leads and some good actors at these, and some of them really did a great job of embodying the role that they were handed. Like, there's so many of these characters that I just can't really see other people playing. I can't see anyone but Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I can't see anyone but Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Like, we had a great Ben Affleck as Batman. We had Henry Cavill nailed the look of Superman really well. I just wish they had let him act like Superman more. Jason Momoa as Aquaman is just, like, amazing. But then you also had some really questionable ideas, like Jared Leto as Joker and Jesse Eisenburg as Lex Luthor. But yeah, so I'm going to go through the 16 films from worst to best, and I'm going to go through this as fast as I can, because there's a lot to talk about. So here it is, the DCEU ranked from worst to best. Number 16, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Yeah, this is the only one of these films I did not see in the theater. Like, I got warned out of it, and I already had very little desire to watch it to begin with, so I got talked out of it fairly easily. I'm not a huge fan of the first Shazam, so I went into watching this with very little hope of it being good, and I was surprised it was even worse than I feared. Because whatever little bit of good the first one had is completely devoid in this one. Just nothing in this works. It's got terrible story, terrible use of these characters, some really bad acting choices. You got two of the best female actors in the world. You got Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren to play the main villains, and some weird other third person who was just meh. And then you gave them nothing to do. Lucy Liu spends almost the entire film riding on the back of a dragon, doing nothing, and Helen Mirren just stands and talks and doesn't do much. And then you just have everything they chose to do with the characters. Like, all of the Shazam family have nothing to do and have no personality. There's nothing going on with Zachary Levi's Shazam, who's just hamming it up for the sake of hamming it up. The effects are bad. The story's bad. There's one of the worst product placements I've ever seen in a film. Just
taste the rainbow. Good, isn't it? Taste the rainbow, motherfucker!
It's like, it is just Shazam. It's not even Billy Batson. It's just his adult form story. And it's so boring and not interesting and badly rushed and badly put together. Like, they go for a really easy joke where this woman is in a car about to fall off the bridge, and her radio just happens to be playing "I Need a Hero," and he catches it, and then he makes a comment, "Oh yeah, imagine this song playing as I, a hero, am rescuing you," and I'm like, no, you are not. You don't get to use that song. You don't get to do that joke. You are not Shrek 2. You aren't even Short Circuit 2. It is not the worst comic book thing ever made, but it is easily one of the worst DC things ever made, and it's just, there's almost nothing redeemable in it. The only thing that's even a smidge good in this is the old man wizard character. That's it. Literally everything else in this is awful. Easily, it's going to be in my top 5 worst films of the year, like, easily. Just an awful watch from start to finish. Number 15, Man of Steel. So, like, the first little chunk of this film, I actually kind of like. Like, getting to see Krypton and him growing up, and then him rescuing the people on the oil rig, that's fine. The second he puts on the Superman costume, that entire film just straight down the toilet. Like, it is just such a bad representation of the character and the choices. Like, they made an emo-ish Superman. Like, he gets mad and he just destroys a guy's truck because he was picked on him at one night. Like, then you have the suit itself, which is a decent-looking suit, but it's so desaturated and devoid of color that's just lifeless looking at it. It's got way too much product placement. It's got really bad character decisions and choices and performances. And then you bring in General Zod and him attacking the world and him almost decimating Metropolis while Superman rescues 0 people. Like, the city is falling down around him and he just doesn't try and help at all. And I get that he was trying to stop the bigger thing, this, that, and the other, but, like, just the way the fights were shot was also ridiculous for me, where it's just like literally every punch is sending the person crashing into a building with no regard to the safety of said people in said buildings. Like, the Smallville fight is just like horrendous to me to watch, just for that aspect of how many random innocent people got murdered because these guys kept flying back every time they got hit. And then you get to the ending, which, like, here's the thing. I 100% can understand Superman needing to kill Zod. I just wish they'd made it clear that he had no options. Because he didn't try to do anything. He grabbed Zod's head, and that's it. All he did was try to force him from turning his head towards the people. He didn't try to fly up with him. He didn't try to knock him down. He didn't try to, use his own laser blast to deflect the other guy's laser blast. He did nothing. He just eventually screamed and snapped the neck. It's also so dark and desaturated and lacking in any color or life, and it's depressing Superman, and I don't want to watch depressing Superman. Number 14, Shazam! Yeah, like I said, this one wasn't much higher up the list. Did not enjoy this film at all when I saw it in theaters. It's not funny, almost at all. There's such a gap between Billy Batson and his Shazam persona that they're not even remotely the same characters. Like, Billy Batson, the kid, is the adult, and Shazam is the child. Like, it doesn't make sense, and the tone of the film is all over the place. So it's like, it's goofy, stupid fun for parts of it, and then it will cut into the villain and just go straight hardcore horror, where it's like, go from a scene that's like, lightning with my hands, lightning with my hands, and it'll cut straight into letting them just murder everyone in this conference room, and it's just like horrific and so not matching of the tones. I really did like Shazam's idea. I liked some of the concepts of it. I really liked him, giving his power to his family and having them become the Shazam family. That actually was really good. It unfortunately led into the sequel, which ruined everything good about that. So this is a film that is actually a flop. The only reason this is considered a success is because it cost very little to make in comparison to every other DCEU. But if it had had any kind of budget or any real marketing for it, this film would have been considered the flop. Number 13, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. This film is a slog of a mess. Like, it is so long, and not even counting the director's cut, which you're like, you have to watch the Snyder cut of it. It's so much better. And it's like, no, things are just a smidge better explained. That there's so much of this that should have been trimmed or redone or cut or edited, and it's just like, ugh. And it has stuff in it that works, sort of. Like, the introduction of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman kind of works. Ben Affleck's as Batman works. And that's about it, because we also have so much bad in this. You have Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, which is legitimately probably the worst DC villain introduction ever done. Like, just, oh god, why did they make those choices? The entire Superman as Jesus metaphor is just over the top, and he has no emotions and nothing to do for the entire length of the film. Introducing all of the Justice League characters by shoving them on a thumb drive and saying, hey, you should check this out, and just shows clips of them doing these things. Like, the little hints of the future popping up for no reason, like Batman dreaming about the post-apocalyptic world where Superman is evil, and then Flash in a power suit running back for no reason. Like, and then you get to like the end, and you have Doomsday, and they do the death of Superman, and you're just like, this is too many plots. There is too much stuff in this film. Like, jeez Louise, you couldn't just focus on it being Batman v Superman with, like, actual reasons that they would want to fight. Like, he had to shove in the entire kitchen sink. So many bad choices in this, and it's like, it's the same mistake that every single one of these franchise things is doing. You're trying to do too much way too quickly. This is literally the second film, and you're shoving in every single character you can. Like, it's just, oh, it is a film that hurts to think about. It's just so mind-numbingly boring and stupid and just, ugh. Like, no, this, like, only thing great about this film really is the warehouse fight scene from Batman. Everything else can go drown in the lake, as far as I'm concerned. Number 12, Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of One Harley Quinzel, or Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. Honestly, should just call it the Birds of Prey, and just had her be an official member of the Birds of Prey. But I really wanted to like this one. I really did. I wanted Harley Quinn and Margot Robbie to have a really great hit with this one, because she is probably my favorite thing in the entire DCEU. Like, I absolutely loved Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. Like, she got me to actually love the Harley Quinn character, because I grew up with Harley Quinn. I watched the original Batman animated show when it came out, and I always liked Harley, but she wasn't my favorite. I was always more of a Poison Ivy guy. Then, you know, we got Suicide Squad and this, and then the Suicide Squad, and I love Margot Robbie's performance. I mean, and I actually have this pop-up figure too that goes with it, and two more of her, just because I really grew to love this character for Margot Robbie's performance and the way they choose to do her and things as well. But this film just, yeah, did not do much for me. And for the most part, it's the Harley Quinn show. It's focused on her, and then all of the Birds of Prey characters are just side characters that don't really have much of anything to do. And it really just, yeah. Except for Huntress, who I actually kind of liked Huntress and her weird thing where she's like trying to psych herself up and figure out what she's going to say to the people that she takes out, which is cute. I thought it was funny. But for me, my biggest problem with this film is the level of violence. Like, I watch horror movies. I don't mind violence to an extent. I don't mind gore and certain things. But there's some stuff where it just becomes too much, and it just really did not work. Like, there's a scene in this where Harley Quinn gets hit on by this guy in a bar, and he's a little rude, but he's not, grabbing her ass or anything. He's just kind of rude about it, and she's having a bad day, so she just
Okay.
the most what the thing that I've ever seen, and I'm like, jeez Louise, that was overkill. Like, and like she could have done that to the main villain of this, and I still would have been like, that's overkill. Like, jeez. Like, it was nice to follow her around. It was nice to see her in some action scenes. They had some really fun, creative little action scenes. I really loved the ending fight where they're all fighting in the clown house and she just has these roller skates on. That's all pretty good, but it's just such a non-entity of a film. Like, the story's stupid and boring and not interesting, and all of the characters are mostly not interesting, with the exception of Harley Quinn. The villain is decent enough, but he doesn't really have much to do. Like, the most interesting thing about him was his relationship to his butler. But because it was Victor Zsasz, but I was waiting for him to go full Victor Zsasz and start, like, killing people and, marking his body up and stuff, and it never did that. It had the potential, but it just wasn't an interesting story, and it wasn't an interesting execution. Some great fight scenes, but that's about it. Number 11, Wonder Woman 1984. This film is a mess. Like, gee, this is a film where you just watch it and you're going, were you on drugs? What is this? Like, jeez, like, there's so much in this that is dumb. It's like, so Wonder Woman's in the 80s, and so story-wise, she's still supposed to be kind of unknown at this point. She's supposed to be living in the background. Yeah, she puts on her full costume and rescues a mall full of people with no trouble. The main villain of the story is Pedro Pascal, playing a scam artist who gets this magical ability to grant anybody's wishes. And that's the threat, is that he will eventually destroy the world if he keeps granting people's wishes. Yeah. You have Kristen Wiig as Cheetah, who is supposed to be, the big rival of Wonder Woman, her equal in many ways, and everything about it is just really stupid choices and stupid design and stupid everything. Just, I like Kristen Wiig, but that was not a good performance at all. And then you have everything to do with Steve Rogers. Wonder Woman wishes for Steve Rogers coming back, and he does, by possessing the body of another man.
You can save the world.
Why? Why was that the specific way that had to work out? And it just adds this whole level of ickiness to it, because she sleeps with him and is getting close to him, but you know that he's possessing somebody else. So that it's just this weird undertones and weird things, and just so many weird, dumb choices. You have the invisible jets, you have, just like getting this power suit and then losing it immediately before the final fight, and then the final thing of hers is her asking every single human being in the world to give up their wish so that the world will not end. And I'm like, yeah, you're not going to get everyone to do that. No, not everyone cares. There's going to be people that are going to keep asking for their own wishes because they only care about themselves. Like, it's a film where they let the director have free reign. Like, they literally gave her carte blanche to do what she wanted. And sometimes you get an amazing film like Gremlins 2, and sometimes you get a cluster fudge, which is what this is. It's an interesting watch, but it's not a good film at all. Number 10, Black Adam. This one had potential. Like, I really thought this film was going to do well. Like, you got Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam, who has the physicality and the personality. And usually he can play a heel or an anti-hero character really well. I wish he'd channeled more of The Rock in his performance in this, because what you get is this weird nothing performance kind of from him, where he's just staring at things kind of quizzically for like 2 seconds and then he's killing people, and not like, I don't know why they gave him a kid's sidekick. Like, he does not need a kid's sidekick. Like, jeez. And they had to make him the most 90s kid in the world with skateboards and his talk, and then him having this little secret escape hatch in his room. Like, I really liked the introduction of the Justice Society. Like, I actually thought they were really good to balance out Black Adam and actually put up a decent fight. I liked the actors and the performances they gave. Like, Black Adam is a character that could have been done amazingly well, but because of the writing and the directing, and I'm pretty sure Dwayne Johnson's people had a lot of fingers in this, they wanted him to come off more as a hero who just does bad things. And it's like, no, Black Adam is a villain who sometimes is on the good side. Like, he only when it benefits him and his people. Otherwise, screw the world. He'll destroy you all. He doesn't care. But playing him as this overly positive thing was just so weird. And then you have the teaser ending where they're like, oh yeah, he's gonna face against Superman, and nope, never gonna happen. Oh. Honestly, like, it would have made more sense to have Shazam in there, but apparently Dwayne Johnson did not like that, and he wanted to fight Superman. Well, congrats, Dwayne, you get neither. It sucks that he spent so much time trying to make that film, and then the film that he made is just meh. Number 9. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yes, I'm counting both versions, the theatrical and the Zack Snyder cut, and the theatrical cut is higher on the list. I'm sorry, I can't get into the Zack Snyder one. It's 4 hours long. And an hour and a half of that is just repeating information that they already talked about in the other 2.5 hours. Like, so there's stuff in this that are way better than the theatrical cut. I will give it that. There's stuff, Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf is so much better in the Zack Snyder cut. Like, he actually has a personality, he has character, he's a much better animated and everything. He's just overall better villain character. Everything with Cyborg is better fleshed out and better handled and done to the point where he almost has a character. Almost. They fleshed out the Flash's powers better and gave him a better motivation and things of that way. And we got to see him use his powers in different ways, which was pretty good. It ties better into the Aquaman film that comes after this, chronologically anyway. And I like the fact I also really like the fact that the Amazons and Wonder Woman are not treated as much as sexual objects as they were in the theatrical cut, because there's so many butt shots and showing the ribs and the underboob shots. Like, it's bad, and when you know who directed the theatrical cut, you're like, ooh. That said, there's a lot of stuff in this that's still not great. Like, it's still the same story as the theatrical cut, which has the same problems and the same flaws and the same pacing issues. I don't like the fact that Batman doesn't feel as important in this version. Like, in the other one, he feels like the thing that brings everybody together and creates the Justice League. Where in this, he's just kind of there. He doesn't really seem as much of a driving force in it. And while the characters are all a little bit better fleshed out, they're not much better fleshed out. They're about the same as they were before. They also spend way too much time, like, lore dumping everything. Like, again, like I said, they repeat themselves so much in this. And it's just, ugh. I hated the fact that anytime Wonder Woman is on screen, they play her theme. And it's the same, like, 20-second clip, and they play it literally anytime she's on screen. And it's like, after the 15th time she's on screen, you're like, where's the mute button? Like, it was, I like the theme, but you don't have to play it literally every time she's on screen. Like, jeez. And then you have Lois showing up when Superman is revived, which in the theatrical cut they explained. They're like, oh, Batman called her because he knew she might be the only thing that could bring him, back to reality and might make him set himself straight. In this version, she just shows up, uninvited and unannounced, for no reason. Like, arguably she's going to go visit the memorial for Superman. Except, we were told earlier in the film that she hasn't left the house in like weeks. So why in the world did she choose to go out that day and just so happen to run into Superman as he's going full evil Superman, I'm going to kill everybody thing? There's also the whole thing where like we put Superman in the black suit, and I'm like looking at it going, no, I think that's the same suit. You just desaturated it again, but even harder this time. It doesn't it just doesn't look great. And then you have the fact that there are multiple endings, and it just goes on forever. There's the whole future, showing the future timeline thing. And then you have, the reveal that Martian Manhunter was pretending to be Martha Kent for the entire film. And you're like, why? Why were you Martha Kent? There's no reason for it. It's just, and the fact that he chose to keep in the things that were hinting at future films when you knew you weren't going to get to do any more of these, Zack Snyder. I'm not a fan of the Zack Snyder cuts of any of his stuff. Making them longer does not make these films better. They just make them easier to understand. And I do not like the Zack Snyder cut. It's too long, it's too repetitive, and it's so not fun to watch. Number 8, The Suicide Squad. So, aka Suicide Squad 2. Which, this is another film that's going to get me some flack, much like me choosing Justice League over Zack Snyder's Justice League. I get that everyone else prefers the Zack Snyder's Justice League over the theatrical Justice League. I get it. And I can see some of your point. It's the same with this one, as most people prefer the Suicide Squad over the original Suicide Squad. And I disagree. And the main reason I don't like the Suicide Squad is that I do not connect to any of the characters until the very last act. And that's a big thing for me, is I really like to connect to the characters and care about them and have an emotional journey with them. So if I have no feelings about them whatsoever, it just becomes watching a film with color. It's like, oh, look, there's something happening, yay. And so to be fair, I had this similar thing with James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. With that one, the first chunk of it, I couldn't care. I didn't care about anything. I didn't particularly like it. I didn't particularly hate it. It was just on. Once they got to the prison scene and they broke out, I really connected to them, and I was really invested and really into those characters from that point on. And that is this film, but the majority of the film is the I don't care part. There's also a lot of violence and a lot of killing and a lot of stuff where it's like, I get it, it's a Suicide Squad, we're going to go with the big violence stuff. It's not the violence that necessarily bothers me, it is the use of it in certain situations. There's a whole scene in this where they're trying to go rescue Flag, who's being held by this camp, and so the two male leads are fighting to see who can get there first and kill the most people and being most stealthy about it. But they're shooting people and setting people on fire and breaking things.
Exploding compression bullets.
And then they get to the tent, and the people are like, how did you get past all our guards? And it's like, none of you heard that? He literally set the guy on fire. You didn't hear him screaming in agony from the pain? Not as bad as Birds of Prey and Harley Quinn did, but still a little bit much. I also find it incredibly weird and insane that they brought King Shark along for an infiltration mission. What in the heck was King Shark supposed to help with in this, other than eating all of the villains that in the way? There's also the opening, which is really odd. So they have this cold opening where you see a random guy that you've never met before. He gets put into a Suicide Squad, gets put in a helicopter with a bunch of people you did not know except for two, which one was Harley Quinn, which she's great in the film. I like her performance in the film overall, but she doesn't save the film. She's a good part in a film that's just okay, and then Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang, and then they all go and they travel to do the mission, and they all get destroyed and killed in the first scene, except for Harley Quinn, who just gets captured. But I'm like, they freaking murdered Jai Courtney's only good character, like the only character I've ever seen him in any film that I particularly liked him in, and they killed him in the first 5 minutes. And it's just jarring and upsetting, and it sets a bad tone for the entire film. Like, but then you also have just like stuff in the film that just doesn't really work. Like, there's stuff that does really work in the film. Like I said, Harley Quinn is really well done in the film. John Cena as Peacemaker is great in the film. There's a lot of great performances overall in the film. I love the fact that they gave Flag an actual personality and something to do in this, and so like what happens to him is actually, hurts, like, but it's missing something for me. It just really is. I really want to like the film, and I've tried, but the only thing I really like about the film is the Peacemaker TV show that came after it. I'm not including the Peacemaker TV show in this list. If I did, it would probably be in my top 3. But there's nothing really in this film that makes me go, this is the better version. And like, I just enjoy watching the other one more. Number 7, Blue Beetle. This is one where it's like, it's hard to say if this is really part of the DCEU anymore or not. It was intended to be part of it, but then when they found out that they were going to be destroying all of the DCEU, they tried to set it up as its own independent universe so that it could maybe tie back into the universe if they ever so choose to. I like the film. I don't love the film. I think it has some good stuff in it. The power suits and the design and all that stuff is pretty good. The supporting cast, the family, is actually really good and the highlight of the film. The weak parts for me are the lead villain and the lead hero, because they're both kind of bland. Like, the lead hero doesn't really have much going for him at all, and the lead villain is Susan Sarandon, who's giving her most phoned-in performance. It's just, I'm evil! And it's like, really? It's pretty good. It's got some really good action scenes, some really good set pieces. I like the dialogue. I like the use of family and kind of. I like the fact that it kept true to the comic book lore to a bit, that there was a human Blue Beetle who is just a guy with technology, and then there's the space power suit Blue Beetle that's a different thing. I really liked the concept of it, and I liked the film, but I liked the concept in the film better when it was called Star Kid from the 90s.
Thing out of this world. The Phase 1 cyber suit, the foremost in alien technology, and Spencer's new best friend. Comes the story of 2 friends who must join forces to save 2 worlds. Star Kid.
There's a new kid in town. Ow!
It's the same concept, but more interesting and better executed. Number 6, Suicide Squad. Yeah, like I said, I get the Suicide Squad is a better shot, better made, better done film. And this film has a lot of flaws in comparison. Like, we have the whole Jared Leto's Joker thing, which it's not a good choice. It's not interesting. I get what they were trying to kind of go for. They tried to make him more of a gangster-like feel to him, and just messes. Like, Joker is him messy with people to throw them off, and didn't really work. And I would love to see it more fleshed out, to see if they could have done some way to salvage that, but honestly, like, it's terrible. I still think that Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is worse. And then you got some really bad stuff. The main villain of this one is really bad, of Enchantress and her dancing thing. Like, that, okay, yeah, that's really bad, and like why they chose to have her dancing and doing all that stuff. Like, they should have kept her with the creepy design. I think she would have worked better as that skeleton like movement performance character. You got the Skybeam and the horde of faceless villain, killer things, which are all like innocent people that have been possessed, and they're just murdering them. But I do actually really like this film. I actually do enjoy it a lot. And there's stuff in this film that I think they do extremely well. First and foremost, Harley Quinn is amazing in this film. She's easily the best standout performance. Stellar performances. Nails the character perfectly, despite the fact that they put her in a really sexist outfit. Like, honestly, I think it fits that character, kind of, though. She's someone who knows she's sexy and uses her sex as a weapon to distract and manipulate people. Like, she's a psych major. She knows how to manipulate men in multiple ways. Like, you had Will Smith as Deadshot in one of his best performances in decades. Like, the only thing he's done that's as good as this better was King Richard, which got him the Academy Award. But this is like the second best thing he's done in like 15 years. And it was a great performance. Just interesting, fun. He had some good charisma, and he just really nailed the character very well. It was really nice to have a fun, energetic, Will Smith character again. You had Jai Courtney's best character ever of Captain Boomerang. You had the really great design for Killer Croc, and that design got this an Academy Award. Like, the Academy Award winning Suicide Squad is because of that Killer Croc outfit, period. Plus, I actually liked Diablo and his story and his powers, and him transforming into that giant monster at the end was really cool. I wish we got a lot more of that character. And, I absolutely loved Viola Davis and this as Amanda Waller. Like, she is just legitimately, like, pitch perfect as Amanda Waller. Like, just nails that character so well in everything that she's portrayed it in. And honestly, we can reset the DCEU. If you ever bring back Amanda Waller, you need to cast Viola Davis again. Like, she's perfect. Let's turn Viola Davis as Amanda Waller into J.K. Simmons always playing J. Jonah Jameson. Like, she should always be Amanda Waller. I really like the action scenes, I like the set pieces, I like the design. I get that they were really trying to go for a Guardians of the Galaxy feel to it, which is interesting because they went on to get the guy that made Guardians of the Galaxy to make the next one, and I don't like it as much. Like, I find this film to be fun. I love the characters' interactions. I actually really like the Harley Quinn Joker romance, the way it's played and the way it's portrayed in that, where it's almost this mutual feeling thing, but he's manipulating her. Like, it's good. I enjoy it. I understand that a lot of people didn't. I get that. But I definitely would rather watch this one over the Suicide Squad or Zack Snyder's Justice League. Number 5. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So I just saw this an hour or two ago, and it's still fresh in my brain, and I'm not 100% certain if this is where it's going to stay on the list, but this is where I'm putting it for right now. It has some really good stuff in it, and it has some not so great stuff in it. So the cast is great. Still, the effects are really good. The story is interesting enough, but it's a little weak. I mean, it's pretty much the same kind of plot as the first one. The only difference is instead of traveling around with, Mira, he's now traveling around with his brother, and gets them to like them by the end of that story, too. So this has a similar problem that the Marvels had for me this year, where it's really good, except for the fact that it feels like there's 15 minutes in the middle of the film that's just missing. That would explain things better, or connect things better, or make things more interesting. I disliked how they plot dumped all of the explanation into one scene. It's like, yeah, I touched that trident for 5 seconds, and I now know the entire history of Atlantis. Like, okay. But I really liked the use of the characters and the action scenes and the fight scenes. It's weird to me having Black Manta become the main villain of this, considering he was a side villain in the other one. And they kept making these statements about him and these things where you're like, you have no proof of that. Right? There was a point where it's like, I knew he was mad, but now he's crazy or something, insane or something. It's like, what has he done that would warrant insanity? It's weird. It's like they kept jumping the gun on some stuff. And then we have the whole Mira situation with Amber Heard. Here's the thing. I always do my best to try to dissociate the real person from the character they're playing. So I can watch movies with like Kevin Spacey and some of these people and be like, okay, no, like this person is a horrible person, but the acting or the performance of this is actually fairly decent. And I was able to do that for the most part with this. I had a harder time doing this with Jason Momoa because I know he did not want her in the film and did things to convince her to quit and not stay and do the film. And you can kind of tell that the writers were thinking about it because you could easily cut her out of the film and you don't lose much. She has maybe 4 minutes of screen time tops. And a lot of it is blue screen where you can tell she's not in the same room as everybody else. And yeah, considering some of the stuff that Momoa may or may not have done to her during that, she would, like, that doesn't give you the right to do that just because you don't like the way the person, like, it's a lot. But I thought her performance was pretty good. I do think the film would be lacking if she was missing from it. I'm really sad they killed off William Dafoe's character between films for no reason. Like, okay, just fine, whatever. Like, the action's good, the story beats are good. It feels like it needs a little bit of something more. I can see this after a second or third watch. This might go up the list, it might go down the list. I'm not sure yet. We'll just have to wait and see. But for right now, I would say it's pretty good. I'd recommend it. It's definitely a better note to end on than it would have been to end on The Flash with its weird ending, or even like Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Oh god, imagine if the last film in the franchise had been Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Like, jeez, that would have been a wet fart to end the entire franchise on. I would much rather go on this whimper than that wet fart of a film. Number 4, the theatrical cut for Justice League, aka the one done by Joss Whedon, using a good chunk of what Zack Snyder directed. But yeah, I 100% get that this film is very flawed and very broken and can fall towards that bad side of the line. Like, it is definitely a rushed mess. It definitely does not do a good job of showing off all of its characters really well. I really hate how sexualized it does the Amazons and Wonder Woman. Like, now knowing that it's a Joss Whedon film and all the stuff that went on with him, those shots make a lot more sense now, unfortunately. But yeah. But there's stuff about this that I actually really liked, and I liked over stuff that we saw in the Zack Snyder one. I like the fact that Batman is the focus of this. He is the central figure. He's the one finding the members. He's the one bringing them together. He's the one coming up with the plans. Like, he plays a much more pivotal part and is more the heart of the team in this. I liked the lighter atmosphere and the jokes and having a little bit of fun with the story. Like, it was definitely way too much of the Joss Whedon, kind of humor. But it was a nice reprieve from the complete lack of humor that Zack Snyder has in everything he does. I liked the fact that, they were actually rescuing people and trying to save people in this one. Like, Superman actually rescues people in the final act of this. Like, he saves an entire building full of people while we're in the middle of fighting off a horde of things and Steppenwolf. I liked that, I thought the pacing was good. I thought it was well executed. It's a fun little hour and a half that just blows by really fast. The main complaint you get for this version of Justice League is the CGI'd mouth for Superman. And it never bothered me. Like, I noticed it when people started pointing it out, but like, it never bothered me, so I don't know. I'm like, I get that can be a really sticking point for you. There's definitely more than a few films that I've seen where it's like, you just see that one background that just doesn't look correct, and you can tell that they just did a really bad green screen effect for that, and you're just like, okay. I understand it. I get it. For me, it's a mouth. Doesn't bother me. I'm sorry. I wish they had been patient and just waited a couple months to release it, to do those reshoots after he shaved. But this is the DCEU. They don't make great decisions. Number 3, The Flash. Another one where it's like, this is very flawed, but it has some great stuff in it. Like, the biggest flaw in this one is the effects. Like, some of the effects are really bad and really wonky. Like, I can accept the time turntable thing where when he travels through time and you see these little caricature-esque design things. I get that was stylistic and that was a choice, and I'm thinking like, okay, good. But when you get to like the fake babies falling out of the building and some of the fight CGI and like some of that stuff gets really bad. Like, to be fair, I think we still would have complained about the babies falling out of the building if they'd been hyper realistic. Like, I think we would have complained regardless of how that, because he put a baby in a microwave. Like, we're gonna have a problem with this scene, period. This was one of those ones where it's really hard to separate the actor from the character, because the character of Barry Allen is pretty decent. You know, he's got that dorky awkwardness, but works really well. And then you have Ezra Miller, who is a monster. Like, yeah, this film went through so much hell in its making because of trying to deal with all the stuff going around Ezra Miller, and I honestly hope that he gets blacklisted for the rest of his life and never gets to really be a movie star again. Like, I'm sorry, sir, you're a good actor, you're a terrible human being, and it made this film hard to watch. I was able to do it for the most part because I focused in on other characters, but I 100% get the complaints. Like, it definitely made it a hard watch for me. Story-wise, I actually like the story. Like, I always like time travel stories and things when they do something interesting with it, and doing a parallel timeline and having there be 2 berries was kind of cool. I wish one of those berries hadn't been annoying as hell, but yeah, I liked bringing back Michael Keaton as Batman. I'm really mad that they canceled Batman Beyond with him playing Old Man Batman, because he would have been freaking amazing in that. Like, geez Louise, of anything you're gonna save of the original plans, that is the thing that you make, DC. Like, geez Louise, what? Don't wait till he's too old. Like, gosh, damn. You know, and I like seeing Kara and a really good creative Supergirl, and I like bringing back Zod as a big villain and stuff. There's some really great choices in this, and then there's just some really bad choices in this. Some of the, like they said, the effects, and then that screwy ending where he ends up in the Joel Schumacher verse somehow. Like, I get what they were trying to do for the joke wise, but, you know, considering you knew this was going to be one of the last things, like, yeah. And I actually liked the kaleidoscope thing. I liked seeing I loved when the other universes crashed in and you got to see, you know, the original George Reeves Superman and Adam West's Batman, and then having Christopher Reeve's Superman and the original Supergirl standing side by side. And then the shock of seeing Nicolas Cage's never done Superman fighting a giant spider. I was smiling and laughing so hard at that. That made me smile and laugh so hard. Like, that was the best. Oh, I don't know. Like, there's stuff, I 100% get people not liking this one. I, for the most part, found it enjoyable and interesting, but I can totally see going back and watching it and it going down the list a little bit. I don't know. I like it. I really liked it. But there's parts of it that are just rough and unnecessary. Number 2, Aquaman. So yeah, this one was a pleasant surprise, because I know most of us, when it was being presented and was coming out, we were all kind of iffy on it. Like, we just had the Justice League one, which I liked, but I knew a lot of people hated, and I liked it. I wasn't super impressed with Jason Momoa's Aquaman in that one. Like, I love Jason Momoa. I've loved him in everything that I've seen him in. Like, going all the way back to like Stargate Atlantis. He's been amazing in pretty much everything I've ever seen him in. But I was a little wary. It's like, especially considering like the water effects and having to do with this. But then, like, the film is just absolutely gorgeous and amazing. Just perfect casting, great characters, great effects. All the underwater scenes in this are amazing. You just have this really great story, this fun adventure story to go on with this character. He's so lighthearted, kind of. He's not doom and glower, which we had to get used to for so much of the DCEU. That was nice to have a more positive kind of character in it. It was fun to watch, fun to see. I loved the story. I loved the fact that they put him in the original green and orange costume, and they managed to make that costume look amazing. Like, he wears it for a good chunk of the sequel, and it looks amazing in that one too. Like, they did a great job with this film that I didn't have much hope for. Like, it's another one where it's like it started off a little bit iffy, where it's just like, okay, I'm watching, and then they went to Atlantis, and I was like, and then it's like from then on, amazing, just a blast to watch from that point on. Number one, Wonder Woman, because of course it is. It's easily the best thing that the DCEU did, by far. Like, you just a nearly perfect film. Like, literally the only complaint I've ever heard about this film, and the only one that I could see anyone ever complain about it, is the final act, Wonder Woman versus Ares fight, and that it's this big CGI mess. And it's like, yeah, but like, that's an accomplishment that everyone agrees that it's just this little thing, and it's not even that bad. It's just a little generic when the rest of the film has been extraordinary. Like, I 100% get why they gave this director free reign for the sequel, because she hit it out of the park so hard with this. Love the way this one, it's like just perfect casting of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Perfect, you got Steve Rogers, you got these great characters, you get to really dive into this war that we know about, but we don't talk about as much, because you always want to talk about like World War II, and World War I just kind of gets brushed aside. It was really fun action scenes, really creative ideas, really creative filming, the way it was shot. It's just a blast to watch. Like, that no man's land scene in the middle is just this amazing piece of cinematography, just so well executed and so well told. It is legitimately the best female-led superhero film so far. Like, I hope that we can get more of this caliber at some point, but it is easily the best of those. It's also just among the best superhero films, period. Amazing, well put, well done, beautiful film that will stand the test of time. Like, the entire rest of the DCEU may get gone, lost, and forgotten, but I think Wonder Woman will be talked about in the same vein as, the 1970s Superman, the 1980s Batman, 2000s Spider-Man. Like, it is a film that will live on for all time. But that is just my thinking. What do you all think? Do you like some of these films that I put lower? Do you hate some of the films I put higher? Am I completely wrong about Zack Snyder's Justice League? I mean, you can tell me I am. I'm not going to believe you. But you're welcome to try. Happy watching, happy reading. I will see you all next time. Bye.